right, I'm here with Heather Riley from Allen Matkins, and we wanted to give you a chance to talk a little bit about Allen Matkins and what you do. Of course, everybody already knows, but you guys have been members since 1994?
Correct.
32 years.
Yep.
And very much a contributing member, so thank you very much. You are actually at the highest partnership program level, P2 level, so you really contribute quite a bit in financial ways, but so much more than that. So we wanted to talk about what you do for Allen Matkins and what brought you to where you're at now and what you're going to be doing going forward.
Sure, I'm happy to do that.
Thank you.
So I'm Heather Riley. I'm a partner at Allen Matkins in the Land Use Group in the San Diego office. I have been active with the BIA since 2006 when I joined Allen Matkins. A year ago, I took a seat on the big board. Nick Lee, the current chair, nominated me to an open position, and I've been there. As of July 1st, I'm actually shifting to be the new general counsel of the BIA. So yeah,
welcome.
It's a little daunting, quite frankly. My partner Jeff Chine's been the general counsel for the BIA as long as I can remember, quite frankly. So it's really big shoes to step into, but I think it's going to be exciting to have a new role and to help the BIA grow even further.
Wonderful, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for everything. You've been very, you've actually grown a couple of different areas for us, so. We're excited to see what you do on the board and with being our general counsel. So
thank you.
So really quick, tell me a little bit more about Allen Matkins. What could some of our members look for? What is their specialty?
So Allen Matkins is a real estate firm. We're born and raised in California. For a while, that was one of our taglines that didn't go very well, but it was an interesting and true statement. It really is five guys who started practicing law in the LA area and just didn't want to work for anybody else. Yeah. And were deal junkies. And they went out on their own and they started chasing really big real estate deals all through the state. And they needed bankruptcy counsel, land use counsel, labor and employment. And so Allen Matkins grew into a full service real estate firm. We have offices throughout the state of California and New York, and we can cover anything you might need outside of the real estate industry or inside the real estate industry. My focus is obviously on the land use, and I do San Diego County. I also do California Environmental Quality Act, which is CEQA, and I can do that anywhere in California. But our offices cover the state. So if it's not me and you have a project in San Francisco, we have somebody who knows downtown San Francisco like nobody's business.
Got it.
The Bay Area, we have people who just do that. So it's really all service available to somebody who wants to come to California and build housing, institutional facilities, transportation, lot of industrial warehouse, which is not so much here in San Diego, but in the Inland Empire, we do a ton of that work. But our bread and butter tends to be in San Diego, multifamily and single family housing. One of my partners, Tim Hutter, has helped draft legislation at the local and state level to help get housing built. And it's so, quite frankly, it's a passion of many of ours, which is why we spend so much time working with the BIA.
Okay, so if someone wanted to get a hold of Allen Matkins, what's the best way?
The best way is probably to reach out directly to me. My email is hriley, R-I-L-E-Y, at allenmatkins, ALLENMATKINS.com.
Awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I think we're good. Thank you.
So we're here with the BIA Talks podcast, the one with the legislative experts. I'm Stephanie. You both know me.
Hi, Stephanie.
Hello, hi. And I'm very excited to have two of the BIA's technical experts with me to talk through kind of what they do, some funny lessons learned, and just getting to know particularly Mike Hansen, who is newer to the BIA team. So for people who don't know, Matt, obviously doing the comms work for everyone, strategic communication, advisement, and brand management, so to speak. And then Mike Hansen doing, do you prefer Michael or Mike?
Mike is good. Yeah.
Too far gone.
That was said definitively, like you should have already known.
I did get that feeling. And then Mike doing the technical advisement on land use and writing code and new policy ideas and all that good stuff. So very excited to have you both.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Of course. All right, let's start with some basics. Who you are, what you think you do for the Building Industry Association and their members, and anything you think is relevant to how you landed in this role.
Maybe I'll kick it off. So I'm a land use consultant with my company City Forward. I am a San Diegan. I grew up here and have lived here since I came back from law school, which is a long time. I think 2008, 2007, around that time frame. And So I help clients maneuver through the process at different cities and agencies. It's mostly property owners and developers, some nonprofits, and public agency clients as well. So it's just kind of a mixture, and I help people get things done, essentially.
What did you do before you did
So,
this?
that's what I currently do, and before that, I was at the city of San Diego for about 8 years, and half of that was in the planning department as the planning director, and half of that was in the mayor's office with Matt, as we were both deputy chiefs of staff.
That's right. That's right.
At the same time.
They just
And
gave those out to anyone.
Yeah.
How
I
many
got in there
deputy chiefs
somehow.
of
Yeah.
staff do you need?
Just
We had
as many as you
three.
need.
We had three. Yeah.
Gotta contain Kevin.
We each had specific, roles.
Of course.
Yeah, we
Mike
did.
was policy, and I was communications,
Yeah.
and then there was a third one.
A very important third one.
Community engagement was the third one. Yeah.
Okay, great. Matt, what can you give us kind of the same gist?
Yeah. I run Matter Strategies. We're a strategic communications company. I'm a native San Diegan, born and raised here, and got into local government at a very young age. So I've worked it from being a community representative to a little bit on the policy side, definitely not as sophisticated as Mike, but I dabble a little bit, a couple ordinances here and there back in the day. And just a few. That's a couple ordinances between friends. And then have been working in communications for about 10 to 15 years now.
Okay.
Work with Mike at the City of San Diego in the mayor's office. And now working with the BIA, it's really exciting because to me, communications is a way to, it's like an exercise to help people and companies and industries understand what's really important to them. Because when you're communicating, you have to really narrow things down. And to me, that's a way of understanding what's most important to you. So that's a lot of fun working with BIA to work through that and identify ways to talk about housing that are compelling.
So as the BIA took on new leadership and sort of repositioned some things, there's been a new and heightened push towards advocacy with a more detailed strategy, which is why the three of us work together. And it's probably alarming that for people who feel like things are going so much in the wrong direction that you need so many people to just stop some of the bad, right? How come we haven't fixed everything yet? I assure you we're working on it. But to that end, Mike, I do want to spend some time on your history as planning director, because something that I always wonder when when watching some of the back and the forth with the members and you is, what is something as the planning director that you couldn't say to the building community, but now that you're advising builders, you're like, listen, you got to be aware of this?
Yeah, things that I couldn't say before. I don't know that I ever felt like I couldn't say something, but I think sometimes when people in the development community would come to me with complaints and problems, I blew them off.
Ooh,
occasionally.
Someone's validated out there. I
And
knew it.
now that I'm on this side, working on things more directly, I think that there's a lot of truth to a lot of the complaints that I feel
okay.
like I remember one land use consultant in particular, very well-known expert.
I know
They might be
exactly.
listening right now.
She
Of course, it's her.
would send me emails about how off base some of the responses were from staff to clients, and I would pick it up and agree with her, but think it was a one-off or
Right.
not pervasive. And now I kind of think, yeah, some of the stuff is pretty built in, and so that's I don't know, something that I wouldn't have said when I was there,
Right.
because I think I didn't realize how
Right.
how much more training some of the team members, junior team members could use, I think.
You are always very diplomatic. I will give you
I don't
that.
know if that was diplomatic, but
I mean,
It's pretty diplomatic.
that was pretty
Okay.
good, especially because I know that those emails probably had a couple curse words in them too. So,
Sounds like you may have sent a few in your time.
no, I try to keep it above board. Say that for the text messages. But when you think about how you're working with clients and everything, and the storytelling piece of it, you guys have worked together in the past on some big stuff, right? There was plenty of major projects that sat in the news that you both moved forward. How do you guys bring that same energy here to the legislative discussion And do you think that there's a chance for some big wins in the near future?
Yeah, like you said, Mike and I worked a lot on projects together. We're at the city of San Diego. One in particular that was really special to me, and it may seem a little passé now, but talking about YIMBYs. And, we have to roll back the clock, 5, 6, 7 years ago. It was kind of bold to say you were a YIMBY.
It wasn't really a thing before that.
It wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
I remember, Mayor Faulkner, in his State of the City address, we had to kind of explain to the audience what a YIMBY was, right? It was still like a very online, sort of thing. Who are these, progressive housing people that actually want to build housing? What a bunch of crazy folks.
Yeah.
It's a lot more mainstream now, but Mike and I worked together to make sure that, when the mayor came out and said, I'm the first YIMBY mayor, that it wasn't just words. We actually had to have like real housing reforms that back that up. And Mike and I worked together to make sure that, if we're saying something bold, we're also doing something bold. So that, to me, was kind of a watershed moment, right?
Yeah.
And we're in a different time now. We can talk about that. But that was really special to make sure that, we had some really exciting policy proposals right out of the gate. I mean, Complete Communities, Mike, that was one that you worked very closely on, worked with you on that. People are still using that to this day.
A lot.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised at the level that it took off, and how quickly that it did. A lot of the things that you work on when you're on the public side don't actually pan out like that, and so I
Didn't work
like
out
like
overall.
another example of something was the moderate income density bonus that the city did, and I don't know if anyone really used it. I never heard of anyone using it. There was a small lot subdivision ordinance that didn't really get used. So when you're working on things, you don't really know how it's going
Right.
to turn out, but that program definitely did, and it's kind of been cool to see the actual physical change that
Right.
you see buildings come up now in Bankers Hill and some of these places that
Yeah.
it's cool to work on the initiative, and then you see the thing a few years later as a result of that.
Right. No, that makes a ton of
Yeah.
sense.
Do you ever walk up to the building and you're like, you're welcome?
Yeah, right.
Pat the wall.
Yeah.
Nice.
We did this together.
Are you at all worried that you brought up Complete Communities? Are you at all worried about some of the chipping awayness that's happening now? What's your take on that as the father?
I
of
mean, on
Complete
that
Communities?
program in particular, I feel like there have been some improvements to it, but I feel that globally with housing, there is a little bit of a, I don't know what you call it, like a zeitgeist change in the way that I think we moved away from housing crisis to maybe trying to temper growth a little bit.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a little of a throwback to like the prior era of planning, which was really growth management and trying to preserve rather than trying to foster. And so, I don't know, I kind of feel that there has been a shift in the last couple years, and some of it is disappointing, but I think it's also kind of a natural outgrowth of you see the physical change happening,
Right.
and it's in the infill areas a lot, so it's really
Yeah.
close to where people are. I think it's a natural thing to be occurring of now that we see these buildings, some people are not too happy about that, and then they're expressing that opinion, and then the elected officials are reacting to that. So I kind of feel like that was bound to happen, but it is a little disappointing. But Complete Communities in particular, I don't really feel is being chipped away at. I feel like the changes that have been made to that have been mostly positive.
Okay. All right. Nice.
And when it comes to like, you were talking about policies that maybe haven't been used as much as we thought. I think there's one thing about San Diego development and building. Sometimes developers come back to some policies that maybe haven't been used and find it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
blow some dust off the books and say, hey, I didn't know about this. And
I mean, I think density bonus was like that, honestly,
Yeah.
because that's from 1980 or something.
Is it
you know?
really?
Yeah, maybe even older.
oh,
yeah.
I had
wow.
no idea.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it wasn't
I really
really
thought Colin Barron
heavily
invented it in
used.
2005.
Yeah.
That's what he told me. But it just goes to, sometimes policy, it's not, you want to move the needle, right? And that should be the
Right.
main focus, but it's also about intent. If you're doing the right thing to advance adding to the housing supply, so more people can get into homes and afford homes and fewer people are homeless, that's a good thing. And I think that just like putting that out in the world, it pays off. Whether it's now, 10 years from now, that's the kind of legislation that we should be focused on.
Big vibes guy, huh?
Big vibes guy.
Yeah, okay. As long as you mean well. But to that point, there was a national poll that said 48% of respondents thought that the biggest cost driver in development was developer profit. So I don't know, like with that sort of statistic, that's from late 2025.
I'm sure they changed their mind since then.
I'm sure they feel a lot better.
Yeah.
Affordability is fix that. But, you know, with that in mind, the intent, will they ever believe, will community members and elected officials ever believe that we're not turning a 25% profit on that building that's ruined your community?
Yeah, it's just so wrong because I can think of projects that are.
It's just wrong.
It's just wrong. So, I have a handful of projects right now that are on hold or paused
Right.
because they cannot make the numbers work for
Right.
feasibility. So it's just on really thin margins for some of these projects. Some projects are not moving forward at all. Some are on hold. So I just think that we've got to say that that's really wrong when we hear something like that. And
Yeah.
I know when people think of development, it's often who is developing the project matters a lot to whether they support it. Is it a for-profit developer? Are they
Yeah.
profiting off of this, or is it an affordable housing developer that's nonprofit? All that matters a lot. But the idea that people are just that the cost of housing is as a result of the developer profit is just so wrong. So I don't even know what to say to that other than that's just really wrong.
Just upset with
That's a good opening
intelligence.
statement.
Okay, yeah.
Well, it gets back to, I mean, it's that intent thing again. I think that if people, one piece of advice I like to give my clients is you have to, whoever you're communicating with, they have to know you, right? And if you're coming in out of the blue and they don't know who you are, what you're about, what your intentions are, what your goals are, people are going to be skeptical. So I think that one of the things I really like about the BIA is it gives builders a chance to get more ingrained in the community and be seen more by decision makers, you know,
Yeah,
be more
yeah.
well known in the community. And I think that matters. I think exactly what you're saying, Mike, you know, when people see a development as, you know, someone from out of town trying to make a quick buck, you're already starting off on the wrong foot. And it's really important, and I think the most successful builders are getting engaged in the community long before. They're well known, people know what they're about. I just think that does make a difference and, you know, lessens the kind of
believe you.
evil developer paintbrush that people put on folks.
And you didn't ask, but what is driving the cost up? It's the constraint to supply. So it's just really simple. We haven't built housing over a really long period of time. I know the BIA podcast audience knows that, but that's the short answer that we need to be saying over and over again.
I have doubts about how many average bears would understand what you just said. So, I mean, you can go shout it in the middle of a grocery store and everyone's gonna be like, one, that guy's nuts. Two,
Here's some
I
proof,
disagree.
though. So we have actually done pretty well on housing construction in the city of San Diego over the past few years. Rent growth has definitely stagnated, and I think in some neighborhoods with some types of products, rents have actually decreased. And I think the evidence is starting to prove that out. And it's really aligned with where the supply has really just been booming over the past few years. Some of the areas like the more urban areas around Balboa Park, North Park, Hillcrest, Bankers Hill, you've seen so much supply there and you're seeing rents go down. And so that relationship is because of the supply.
I'm going to hit you with some more bad news. That
Okay.
same poll, 44% of the respondents said that more housing increases prices. So I feel like the
It's-
more conversation we're having, we're just digging ourselves into a hole with people who
Yeah.
refuse to math with us, you know?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
and that's why maybe it's out of the land use guy's hands, and it's like,
Yeah.
Matt, can you draw a cartoon or something to help?
I know.
We need some infographics. That'll get us out of this mess.
A TikTok.
Yeah, you know, it's just there are very few things in our world where if you create more of it, it gets more expensive. And housing, it would make no sense for that to be in the bucket. There is a housing crisis. I think people are maybe mapping onto housing gets more expensive if there's more of it. I think it just goes back to a fundamental, what we're seeing in these polls, there is an adversity to change. People do not like change in their community. Yeah. And so whatever reason they may find, they may say housing is bad. But it comes down to, and I think when we talk about, kind of the return of the NIMBY movement, to me, that's a sign that things are working. If there was no pushback, then we aren't moving the needle. And we know to really make a change to how housing is discussed in our country, our state, our city. There's going to be a lot of things we have to overcome. We got in this mess over a course of decades, making it very hard to build. We had the 2008 recession. There's so many factors that we're trying to overcome. So if people were not maybe engaging a little bit more heatedly in conversation, that would mean nothing is changing. So I, for one, welcome the pushback, because to me that means that we're making some progress.
I don't know that I'm with you there, but that's okay. That's okay. I do think that we need to be more clear with our messaging, though, and I think that's a great point. You get more of something, it usually doesn't get more expensive. And we've had this conversation, Mike, when people say, well, what benefits are going to come with the housing?
The housing is a benefit.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, I just want to get back to that space, because I think for policy discussions, we've lost the plot with a number of elected officials, and partially because of the change and the success that you were referencing, Matt, but like also because the world is on fire and housing takes years to get off the ground, and why would I deal with that when I could just pass this policy instead that feels better?
Yeah.
So it's an uphill climb, I think, but I am excited about the BIA's refocusing into some of these places to just drive that point of the housing is the benefit. The housing is the point. That's all we're going to say.
Yeah.
Here's a home, tell me why it's bad.
One thing too is that I've been thinking about recently is when it comes to school enrollment, right? In my neighborhood alone,
I'm huge on this topic.
Yeah, we see schools in San Diego where either people aren't having kids, so there are fewer kids in the school. That impacts the ability for the school to be effective, right? They don't have many kids in classrooms. That's a problem for funding over the long term.
Yeah.
So if you want to freeze everything as is, that means more people aren't coming in, and there are very real consequences for that. Which is, our school districts are in trouble. Families are not choosing to stay here. So, what else does it benefit? Having more young people in our community. I think we're losing that.
I would take it one step further. The school district is where that's starting, but the demographic problem that is going to be occurring if we see population decline and people moving away, and we're, I think, on the edge of that right now. We're flat on population. The state is declining. What is that going to mean for jobs, the city, opportunities?
Right.
And I feel like housing is really the driving of that, not just causing people to move away, but the change of the way that people are making their life decisions. And so, can I afford to have kids? Do I even want to raise somebody in the small apartment that I'm living in right now? So there's decisions like that are being made, and we haven't quite seen the ripple effect of that, because we're still at a steady place right now on demographics, but I just am concerned that we're at the very beginning of a decline, and
yeah, I mean, just every time you talk to Sandag, all they'll tell you is everyone's old. This is a town of dying people. Like, but it's an economic version of that. And you see it too. I serve on a board of a hospital, and it's been fascinating the market assessments that they do, and where people are giving birth and where they're not. And San Diego has all of the infrastructure and resources to be a great town for a younger family, and they're all in Riverside. California is maintaining because Riverside, right, and probably Bakersfield, but everyone else is just hightailed it out to Charlotte or Denver. So I wonder if that YIMBY movement will look around in a couple of years and go, I really would have preferred an elementary school versus an assisted living center next to me, but it is what it is.
Yeah. And and we've kind of had some preliminary talks about this internally. I would love to see the BIA and builders talking more with educators about this, talking more with school districts about this. I just think that when you talk about a movement, ultimately it has to be more than builders that are part of that. It has to be people that live in our community, other institutions. So I see
Yeah.
some of those that we've just mentioned as potential partners in that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the number of employers that I talked to in a previous job of mine who were very well aware that they had chunks of their staff living in their cars.
Yeah.
But it's they sort of go, what am I supposed to do about that? The answer isn't just keep throwing more money at people. So it gets tricky. That's really tough. Anyway, that was depressing. How did I really try to keep this?
It's the poll
more
that you
lively.
picked out. Where did you get this
pick
thing?
it out. It's a firm called Searchlight does these. They like gauge where American sentiment is on things, and so they frequently do these massive polls. And just the takeaways of it were fascinating because people thought, okay, yeah, we need more housing because housing is sort of coming up in other places other than California now, so it's not an us problem, which is good, policy-wise. But it's a great takeaway. I will send it to both of you.
Yeah.
In fact, I think I already did.
Oh, great. Call me out right here on the podcast. Didn't open that email.
Yeah, you guys didn't even read it. Okay, pivoting. You talked about how you were proud of the YIMBY stuff and the complete communities, but Mike, give me something that you're very proud of that you did at the city. Just to get so people have a feel for like kind of where your heart lives in the policy work that you do. Surely there's something.
I mean, I think I am most proud of building up the team that I brought on board in the department, and kind of like, I really like the organizational structural stuff the most. And I know that's not as like, it's not a
There's a lot
big
to take away
initiative,
from that.
but when I look back at it in terms of what I really enjoyed doing, it was kind of like working with the team and helping to get things done, working in the mayor's office too.
Proud of the people.
Yeah, because I don't have that now. I'm just one person working in my own business, and so maybe I'm answering what do I miss the most rather than and what am I proud of the most.
Do you just go back and sit with Heidi sometimes? Can I hang out?
I miss her. I miss kind of like her sense of humor and joking around with
That
her
really
and stuff.
great
Yeah.
office space you guys had.
Oh, it was horrible.
So gross.
Just for the podcast listeners, it was a trailer on Arrow Drive, and
So depressing going over
yeah, it was. But in terms of the initiatives and things that I worked on, I would probably say Complete Communities, because of the things that I worked on. I think it's had the most impact. So there are a lot of things that were cool policy-wise, but I haven't really seen them take off to this extent. Just an example of that was another thing that I worked on was the Spaces as Places initiative to make the outdoor dining and outdoor streets permanent post-COVID. I feel that still probably was too restrictive and too expensive for the businesses, and it hasn't really catalyzed the transformation that we wanted to keep. You've seen a lot of them kind of disappear.
That's true.
And so there were quite a few things that I worked on that were really fun and cool, but haven't had the big impact, and I feel like Complete Communities has. So that's probably what I would go to.
That makes sense.
I miss the streeteries. Those were great.
I know. I don't know how we lost all that. I mean, we haven't lost all that, but we lost
lot of
most
them.
of that.
Yeah.
We lost most of all that.
When they make movies about the pandemic era, they'll have the streeteries in there. It'll be very like sexual
Yeah.
times.
Drunk people wandering around on the street. It's not that different from now. Surely I take that back.
Sounds like you really enjoyed the pandemic.
I was pregnant, but thanks. That hurts. What, Matt? What are you most proud of at your time at the city? And you were there for a long time.
I
so
was
you
there
can even,
for a long
like,
time.
Throw back to council day.
Yeah, it was. I was at the city in 15 years, so I worked on the city council floor, so on the legislative side, and then on the executive side, and in the mayor's office. It's a good question. I think one thing that I really enjoyed working on was, and really was excited to see it get passed, was the climate action plan. And
What a
it's
thing to say on this podcast.
well, here's the connection. Is it really crystallized in the way the city worked that we want to encourage more housing closer to other amenities. right? Whether it be, schools, jobs, parks, that sort of thing. So obviously that's only one part of, housing and where we want to develop, but I think it gave a framing device for the community to maybe in those infill areas be a little bit more accepting of housing, because there was a new kind of broader element, climate change brought into the mix too. And that was added along with, we're growing our urban canopy and that sort of thing. Now all this stuff is in the plan, whether, the implementation has been a different discussion, but that was really, I think to me that was a nexus of a lot of the things the city works on. Housing, parks, transportation, it all kind of came together in that document and many others, right? I see connections with complete communities where we're talking about building neighborhoods where you have all the pieces there. And I think that I was also very excited to help talk about housing as a part of that vital infrastructure, right? When a sewer line goes in, when a water line goes in, and the road gets ripped up, it's an annoyance. People don't like it. But they recognize, we probably need that infrastructure so I can actually turn on my faucet and flush my toilet. I think, it's the same for housing, right? That's a part of what we need to have real neighborhoods. So to me, that was really cool to be at the forefront of bringing that conversation to the public from the city side.
Can I defend your cap answer?
Yeah, please.
Which is
Need a little help.
I know some lawyers that are like, oh, it was this guy?
so
If
before.
you think I wrote the climate action plan, then you are sorely mistaken.
Trees.
So before the cap was adopted, the 2015 cap, the transit priority area was not really a very strong planning mechanism. So after that point in time, every major initiative and everything that was taken forward after that point in time really used that as a driver of where growth and where housing should go. Mm-hmm. The groundwork had been laid with the general plan, so I'm not saying it was a totally brand new thing, but the way that it was really delineated in the regulations as TPA or not TPA, you get the benefits in TPA, you don't get it outside, that wasn't a thing like before the cap. So the cap actually created that, and because of that, I think created a lot of incentives in the infill areas and growth that occurred there. So I guess I would agree with you on that.
I remember the staff at the time at the checklist that was published, and it was pretty well received. I would say I believe some of that sentiment and philosophy has been really aggressively pushed to the detriment of some other areas that we'd like to see things happen. But sure, cap.
Well, I would say this with climate change. I think it's a.
Oh no!
I got one more thing. Yeah.
Good God.
Welcome to climate change talks on the BIA podcast. I see a.
They're never gonna invite us back.
I see a similarity. There is a connection between, I think, with where the political conversation, just kind of the zeitgeist of the moment of where we are right now in our world and our country. Like, I don't feel people are really talking about climate change, for example, anymore, even though it's undoubtedly happening. It's not part of the conversation. I think when it comes to housing, there's an element of that too, where we've moved on. Who needs that more development? We built enough homes. Can't we stop now? That doesn't mean we don't need more housing. So the connection I see is just because people are talking about something differently or talking about it less, doesn't mean the problem isn't still there. We still have a major supply and housing problem in San Diego. So I think where we're at now, and we're feeling really energized with the BIA. Just our job is to remind people of that. Just because we aren't talking about it the same way doesn't mean the problem has gone away. We still have a lot more work to do, even though we've had a lot of wins already.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's fair. But Mike, to your point, the city of San Diego is doing well on housing production, right? Mm-hmm. Any concern that that we're actually hurting ourselves by touting that stuff? Because I get that pushback now where people say, well, you just said your numbers are great. Why would I need this new policy? My numbers are great.
The numbers are great on the market rate, and they're not good on the affordable housing. So I think, overall, they're definitely up, and they're pretty strong over the past few years. And I think we have to recognize that, but it's still really low on affordable. And to me, the market rate production helps drive the affordable housing through things like density bonus and inclusionary and complete communities. those affordable units are being driven by the market rate. So we actually still need the market rate to go higher and higher, for the affordable to go higher and higher to hit our affordable numbers. So it doesn't really concern me to be saying that things are going pretty good overall, because we're still not there yet on kind of the details. And I'm kind of just going straight to the RENA stuff right now, which isn't everything, but yeah, we have some top line good news, but when you kind of look at all the underlying data, it's not all great. So we still need to drive some of this stuff.
So it's about touting in a way maybe that's a little bit more realistic. We can't just say everything is great. There's a lot of nuance there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's no mission accomplished. But you know, at this moment in policy, it is different, right? The instinct from elected officials right now, and even from staff inside in a lot of these departments, is not things that we inherently agree on, right? We're working on crafting policies proactively, and stay tuned. But we're doing a lot of defense work, right? And so, actually, looking at you again, Mike, when you think about the times when you were dealing with our lovely, land use consultants and developers themselves, what advice do you have to folks that are trying to advocate to a planning director type? How do you make it work?
Have a clear ask, know what you're asking for, have constructive advice and recommendations, like come with something that could actually be actionable, instead of just this is a complaint, this is a problem. Recognize that the city staff are trying to balance a lot of different interests, and you are not the only one that they're trying to balance. And so when maybe at the end of the day they come up with something that you're 70% okay with or 80% okay with, it's time to come on board and support that thing. I would always get frustrated where you would do so much with different stakeholders and groups, and you felt like you did as much as you could, but they still didn't support it because it wasn't everything. So, kind of realizing that when you're on the public side, you're really trying to balance all these different things, and I don't feel like the private sector people quite get that.
I think what I take away whenever I hear that, and there are certain public sector staff that I talk to, and they'll still say something like that, where it's like, development gets 80% of what they want all the time, and you still don't come out and support. And I remember thinking to myself, it hurts your feelings that we don't come out and I didn't even. Never even occurred to me
almost a little bit. I don't know if it's like a feelings thing, but it's a disappointment.
No, but like you're paying attention to the fact that we're not there, which is a really validating thing. I think as there's been growth in different directions philosophically from like a city of San Diego elected official or a county of San Diego elected official, and what a developer feels, right? Like, and we've grown different directions, and COVID parted a lot of relationships. So I think the private sector side probably thinks these guys just don't care. But I mean, not that you have feelings again, but it's nice for people to know that they do.
I do hear a lot of complaining about cities and stuff, and I do always feel pretty defensive when I hear that stuff, because I still feel like you have no idea how hard it is to be in their shoes, how many emails they're getting in their inbox, how crazy their calendar is. It's just like, I wish people could see that a little bit, or not just see it, experience it, because I think it would make you better situated to advocate if you've been in that.
Mike, I've seen your calendar when you were at the city, and it was,
well, yours is
6:45.
I see his calendar now.
Yeah, it's
watching him.
Back-to-back meetings. You're not taking lunches. You're so right. A lot of folks maybe think that you're just sitting around waiting for a phone call from someone that is trying to process their materials, and no, you're doing so much work on the back end. That's just one part of what you do.
Like, I'll just give you an example. Sometimes people will come to me and say, hey, can you just get the key people together for like a round table so we can roll up our sleeves and work through this issue? Maybe this afternoon or tomorrow with all these high level people, we can just. It's just like, no, it's not going to work like that. It's just not going to work like that.
No, and that's fair. I think there are some kind of crazy assumptions, because the work of public sector staff is a sort of odd thing, but similarly, what people don't know about a developer and the pressure they're under is immense. And you see that in blame you, comms guy, storylines across the board where I was watching Sons of Anarchy, because why not? And I was reminded that the whole premise is that somebody's trying to build apartments. And then they have a motorcycle club coming after them, which hopefully is not happening to our guys.
So here's the developer side. So the developer side is, okay, you apply for a project. You think it's exactly what the city wants. Submit your app.
Hired Mike Hansen,
Maybe
you're
you're
ready.
preparing application material, spending a ton of money. You haven't submitted yet. Oh, the city's announcing that it's doing a major change to something, but you're not quite to application submittal, so you're not protected under the rules, but they're changing things. Once you do submit, you're getting comments back. The fire department wants something totally different than stormwater, totally different than the PUD, and you just want to scream when you see these comments come back. And then there's sometimes mistakes in them and things like that. And the process is really frustrating that we've set up with just the back and forth that it takes to get a project done. I think that kind of gets missed when you're on the city side, what it's like to experience that when you're on the developer side, because the city staff only see their piece of it. They only might see their review discipline, or they see their piece of it. They don't really see to experience it, to try to get a project through. It is like trench warfare almost, it's like you feel like you're moving
Dodging
forward
bombs.
an inch and then you're moving back 2 inches and you're not making progress. So that's I feel that too, but yeah.
I would like to pitch a sponsored trust fall exercise where every developer gets a city staffer and we're just going to trade trust falls and build that.
We're in a very low trust environment in the world right now, so I think the
What do you
more,
mean?
I don't know, it's probably maybe in that poll. So yeah, the more we can do to just get people talking to each other. I just want to pull on that thread a little bit, like the perspective. I was at the city for a decade and a half, and now being on the other side and working with builders, I did not understand, or not appreciate, I guess is the word, the load you are carrying with, you have so many obligations that you have made, so much money is on the line. By the time you get to the point where you're talking with a regulatory agency, you're deep in the hole, and truly time is money in a way that is kind of incomprehensible for someone who may be on the government side. So I think that there's maybe not a full comprehension of that. The pressure is so high. So I think just more, maybe we should do those trust falls, because I don't think both sides truly understand the pressure that they're under. And they're coming to it with a very high stakes environment, and there's a lot of anxiety there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, maybe Alan Matkins will sponsor my trust fall idea. Someone should ask them. Well, the attorneys, that's what you want.
Yeah, they can buy the mattresses just in case it doesn't work. You just bounce off of one of those.
Well, and I think too, something I find when I'm talking with electeds and staff is that they're so beat down. Right?
Yeah.
They agree. They know. They know to some extent. They know. Totally. I want to see more housing. I've got kids of my own. I want to see this. I want to see the attainable stuff get built. But they just and then at some point it's just, but as we got the budget, we got how we're gonna get the votes and blah blah. And so it's just not. I think another exciting thing about this moment and sort of where the BIA is going is that there is more momentum to be a friend to those folks.
Yeah.
And to help them get over that, we're going to be with you here. And I think that's something that historically in the past couple of years, business industry in totality sort of just said, thanks for the vote, catch you next time. No real thoughtful strategy to give people that cover. And then we just feed them to the wolves when, a big, huge project shows up that they hate. So
I don't think we should take for granted now. There's definitely headwinds, but take for granted how pro-housing the city is compared to where it was and what it could be in the future. We've had, some mayors, including the current one, who are, unabashedly on the pro-housing side. Now, does that always, turn out with, exactly things are moving as fast as you want? Not all the time, but I think that that's something very important, and it's the BIA's job to kind of help grow that message in the community, because if we lose that support from leadership, it's going to be a lot harder. So I think we have a great opportunity now to continue to grow on the wins that we've had.
And expand it to other cities and the county,
Yeah.
and I think there's still the opportunity in a lot of other places too.
Yeah,
Definitely.
it's like the Chargers. Take the good thing that we had and give it
Yeah.
out, give it away.
Yeah.
I thought we
Right.
would make it through this without mentioning the Chargers.
Oh no.
I
The
can't.
Chargers.
I did. You guys, I mean, were you at City Hall when that
We
all went
both
down?
were.
We
yeah.
both were.
We were
Did
you have
super in the middle of it.
You did.
Yeah.
Wait, could you possibly be to blame?
Absolutely
Are we
not.
uncovering an
The-
important piece of this story?
No one in San Diego can be to blame because the Chargers are to blame.
Yeah.
Oh, fine. Okay.
Yeah.
I was really
Having-
hoping
having
there was
lived
going to be
through
like
it
some real
directly,
tea
yeah.
coming out. Like,
Having been, I will tell you, just having been there, I think it was.
what were your roles there? Actually, I
We,
don't know.
we had just started in the mayor's office, and we started meeting with the team as one does when you're the mayor, and they were very interested in the new stadium, and we were excited to talk to them. And it was our very first State of the City address. I think it was 2015, and we said we were excited to explore a new stadium and that sort of thing. And immediately, the Chargers came out and were very upset with the particulars of how we would start exploring that, criticized the city, said we weren't doing enough. Turns out, what no one knew except for them is they had been working behind the scenes with the Raiders to do their own stadium at Carson. So they already had a escape plan from San Diego that they had been hiding from us. And once that came out, it all made sense that they really never wanted to stay here. So it was a bad faith exercise from the very beginning, unfortunately.
Some real villain shit. What was your job on the Chargers thing?
I mean, so I was in the
Just got abused.
I was in the mayor's office, and
You were the
got
one
tied
making sure
into
the city was
the stadium
showing
efforts,
up and,
yeah.
and making the best
And
effort
so
we
we
could.
we made a strong effort, got an EIR done, did a lot of planning work that actually was helpful because it laid the groundwork for the stadium that is now there, which I think proves that we could build a stadium there. But I felt like there wasn't a single meeting that was good faith on their part. There were very few meetings, period, and the ones that were in the very beginning when we actually met with them, none of them were in good faith. And then we found out later that they're assisting project opponents and they're directly coordinating with people.
What?
I mean, just all sorts of anti-stadium efforts. So it's, it wasn't good faith.
My knowledge of sports is just that. Hashtag sports. That's what I know. But I have one more question, which is, why would they be working against it?
They made the decision.
Oh,
a
they
long time
needed
ago.
to get out of there.
LA
I
is
see.
a much more valuable media market, and just existing
Oh.
there, no matter the state of the
Got it.
team, whether they're good or bad or what have you, you're making a lot more money than San Diego. So
Okay.
the trust wasn't there. Maybe we should have started with a trust fall. Maybe that's what we were missing from the very beginning.
It's going to catch on. Well, okay, I'm thrilled that we've ended on something completely unhousing related. Go us. That was excellent. But I want to thank you both for spending the time to talk, and hopefully folks feel like they know you a little bit better and can come to you directly for your expertise and wisdom. But I'm sure we'll be back soon to start talking about some of our upcoming policy projects.
Sounds good.
So, yeah.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, guys.